Hello, and welcome to Improving's Friday Lunch and Learn event. Today we have Shelby Sandstone, and she will be talking about writing for the modern world. Thank you very much for joining us, and for all videos from Improving, you can visit YouTube. You can search for Improving Enterprises, and our weekly lunch and learns are posted in a specific channel there. We hope you enjoyed this presentation, and we look forward to seeing you at the next one. Shelby, take it away.
Thank you so much, Jim. Thanks everyone for coming and talking with me about writing for the modern world. I am really excited to do this. I've talked with some improvers about this before, but when it comes to external communications, I'm excited to bring all that I know about writing to you guys. So let's begin. So first, I want to tell you why you should trust me with this information. What makes me qualified to teach you about writing? Well, first, I graduated from the University of Mississippi in broadcast journalism. And then I worked as a news reporter for 5 years in Tennessee, where I'm from, so in Memphis and Nashville, Tennessee. And yes, that is me with a much shorter haircut back in the olden days. And then in 2020, my husband had an opportunity to work in Maui, Hawaii. If anybody knows about Maui, it is a very rural island. It's not like Honolulu with the big skyscrapers. So when I started looking up careers there, I realized there were no TV stations on Maui. So I had to figure out what to do next. And I really had to sit and think, what do I love most about journalism? And I realized it was the writing aspect. Yes, I can speak to a camera like I'm doing now, but what really makes my heart burst, makes me happy is writing. So I decided to freelance for dozens of companies for that year, and I had a lot of fun doing that. And then my husband got a job here in Texas, and I found Improving just on LinkedIn, which was the most amazing thing that has ever happened to me career-wise. I get to do now what I did as a freelancer for Improving, and it's an amazing career, and I've had a lot of fun with it. I had some, fun photos. In the other slide, so that's Walter, that's my puppy. He's about 80 pounds now, but I thought you'd rather see that over, me jumping in the air about being happy about improving. All right, so let's get on to the course. Now you know a little bit about me. I want to tell you what we're going to go over today. So first, we're going to start out with an overview of writing essentials. These are the things you're going to want to remember every time you sit down to type. And then the second thing is how to write blogs. I know blogs are really big right now in the thought leadership world. Personally, for me, I put out anywhere from 1 to 3 blogs a week for Improving. I don't write most of them, our wonderful improvers do, but I help edit them, and I've had a lot of time to learn what works in the blog sphere. And then number 3, we're going to talk about social media tips and tricks. How do we get all of our, internal communications, our blog posts out into the universe? Well, a lot of that is through social media. I do social media for Improving. So if you see any LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, any of that stuff, 99% of the time, that is me. And so I'm going to teach you what I know about that. I will let you know we may have time at the end for Q&A, but we may not. So take a look at that email below. That is my email, shelby.sandstone@improving.com. If you have any questions, I'd love to talk to you guys about this. So just give me a quick email. Okay, so let's begin. How do we even find a topic to write about? So you're sitting here, you're like, okay, sure, I want to write, but I have no idea what I should be talking about. The answer is pretty simple. You just have to ask this question. What are you passionate about, or what do you know a lot about? Those are the first topics that you should write about. I had a blog back in the day, right when I got out of college, and I just wrote about my life and the things that were going on there. That's what I was passionate about as a 21-year-old. So anything you know about, you guys, a lot of you are developers, talk about this stuff. You can take a look at our Improving blog posts, and you can see that our improvers do this pretty well. Okay, and then also if you have written all you know about, all you're passionate about, or at least you think you've written about all that, well, then this is something, what we're going to talk about next. This is going to help you find new topics to talk about. In Journalism 101, my freshman year of college, I learned about this, 5 reasons to write a news story. PBS gave me the definitions for that because it's been several years since I have learned about this. But these 5 reasons have stuck in my head ever since. I use it when I'm trying to find topics to talk about for improving. So we're going to take that word news out of this, and we're going to talk about the 5 reasons to write a story in general. So the first way you can find a story is if it's timely, timeliness. Now, timeliness is the immediate current information and events that are newsworthy because they have just recently occurred. It's news because it's new. One good example for this, right? Any football fans out here? Tom Brady says he will return to NFL and the Buccaneers, right? So this is an example of a timely news story. Tom Brady announced that he wanted to go back into the NFL. Immediately, that information hit the newsstands. Number 2 is proximity. So this is local information and events that are newsworthy because they affect the people in our community and region. We care more about things that happen close to home. An example of this, I am currently looking to buy a house, so I'm in the crazy real estate market. So when I was Googling proximity stories, this one really popped out to me. Dallas real estate, how crazy is it right now? That's what the local news station is talking about. When I was working in news, this is something we did all the time, trying to make news stories more a proximity type of topic. So anything that was happening nationally, like the real estate market is honestly crazy all over the place in the United States right now. But how do you make that news story worthy to somebody in Dallas, making Dallas people want to engage in the story? Well, you talk about the Dallas real estate market. The third reason to write a story is conflict and controversy. This is when violence strikes or when people argue about actions, events, ideas, or policies. We care. Conflict and controversy attract our attention by highlighting problems or differences within our community. This is one that I've been seeing a lot of when I was looking up news stories, a little lighter news stories, because we could talk about a lot of different controversial things that I decided we're not going to talk about today. But one that people are debating about is the new Pixar movie, Turning Red. They're talking a lot about the Asian Canadian community, some critics and their reviews, and there is all this debate going on about this cute little story, right? So that would be one of the ways we would talk about conflict and controversy. Number 4, this is my favorite one to read personally and to write about personally. Human interest. People are interested in other people. Everyone has something to celebrate and something to complain about. We like unusual stories or people who accomplish amazing feats or handle a life crisis because we can identify with them. As I was looking up examples, I decided to go with Instagram because I Googled human interest stories because I wasn't seeing them a lot in the news that I was reading lately. And I couldn't find any besides celebrities and their engagement rings. And I was like, yeah, sure, that's technically a human interest story, but something that does it well is Humans of New York, this Instagram feed. This Instagrammer goes around and he interviews people and then he just puts their quotes into the captions, and he has some amazing stories. I think he's made me cry more than any other content online. If you don't follow him, you should, but he's amazing at human interest stories. And the number 5th reason to write a story is relevance. People are attracted to information that helps them make good decisions. If you like to cook, you find recipes relevant. If you're looking for a job, the business news is relevant. We depend on relevant information that helps us make decisions. And a good example of this, super easy, how to cook a turkey, the simplest, easiest method. I mean, I was just looking up how to do certain cleaning things with pet odors today, you know, like little things like that, any type of thing where you are trying to find information out. This is a good example of the 5th reason. All right, so now We have figured out what we want to write about. We have gone through the 5 reasons to tell a story, and we have made some good headway. We know this is the topic we want to start typing out. Okay, so how do we start? Well, first you're going to come up with a thesis statement. I know to a lot of people the words thesis statement is like cringeworthy. It reminds you of school and bad grades. Don't worry about it. You're not getting graded on this thesis statement. It's just a 1-sentence summary that'll help you make sure that you have a good idea of what you're about to put on the page. Once you have that 1-sentence summary, thesis statement, you're going to create an outline. This is the thing that I don't like the most because I just want to go for it. If I'm passionate about a subject, I just want to write it out. But some issues can arise if you do this. If you don't create an outline, sometimes you can just go off track a little bit and your overall story is not really that focused. So create that outline, because then after you create the outline, you can do the best part, in my opinion, barf it out. That's what I call it. It's just when you start writing. I know a lot of people who have a hard time with barf it out just because they want it to be perfect the first time out. But I heard this on Dax Shepard's podcast, out of all places, and it really resonated with me. He writes movie scripts, and he was talking about how he just writes a terrible movie the first time around. And then from there, he goes over and over and over it again until he has the perfect draft. So just write something. It doesn't have to be good, but put words on the page, because then you can go back over the draft until it feels right. I have done this 20 times before on some certain things. And this doesn't have to just be blog posts or real long stories that you're doing this for. This can be something as simple as a LinkedIn post. You can go back over it and you can edit it to make it the best thing possible. And then once you have something that you feel really good and confident about, or, maybe you feel good and confident about most of it, but not all of it, if needed, you can get 1 to 2 people to give feedback or edit your post, your story, your blog post, anything like that. I do say 1 to 2 people very specifically, because if you don't get anybody to look at it, you might have mistakes that you didn't see yourself. And then if you get more than 2 people to look at it, 1 of 2 things can happen. 1, you can get a lot of feedback from different people, and it can make you feel a little unconfident about your story, about the thing you wrote, because there's so many different people critiquing it, and they will find different things that maybe they're subjectively saying they would like to see better. Doesn't really have to be changed, but it can make you feel a little insecure about your writing. Number 2, especially if you have a Word document and you're sending it out to people, it can start to not even sound like yourself. If so many people are going through it and tweaking it, it can sound like a mix of other people, and it could lose its tone of voice, which is really important when you're writing a story. And then lastly, you finalize it, you send it out into the world, and you let other people read it. Okay, I want to go through 2 ways to tell a story. There are probably a couple more than 2, but these are the 2 that I really think about. So the first is the witch hat process. You may remember this from school back in the day. This is Harry Potter. This is literally everything on Netflix. I'm just going to use Harry Potter as an example, but most stories, whether it's books, whether it's the podcast nowadays that tell a story, whether it's TV show, anything usually goes through the witch hat process. So witch hat, considering it's a witch, we're going to go through Harry Potter book 1/movie 1. So you start out with the exposition. That is, Harry's living underneath a cupboard. He's having a miserable life, and he's this cute kid that can't catch a break. Rising action, he finds out he's a wizard. He goes to Hogwarts. He meets friends. He meets not friends, and he just goes about his time learning about this magical world. And then the climax, we find out, hopefully I'm not spoiling anything here, Voldemort is back. He is not dead. And Harry goes through all of these things, all of these different, oh gosh, I can't even think of the word. He goes through the chessboard and all that good stuff, right? All the fun stuff where you're like, oh my gosh, is he going to make it? And then the following action is when we find out that, not only is Voldemort back, but he's trying to hurt Harry, and Harry is dealing with him in that space with the Philosopher's Stone. And in the end, all is well, all is wrapped up into a little bow, and Harry goes back home and is excited for year 2 to come back because he just helped his, class win the class cup and everything. So that's the Witch Hat process. You can use this mostly for longer stories, and it's, you guys know what I'm talking about. And then we have the inverted pyramid. Now, this one is something that I use a lot. This is what any news story you see, not any, but a majority of the news stories you see online, this is what you're reading. They are best for shorter stories, but you can still bring around the story at the end, and I'll let you know what that means. So the most newsworthy information goes first. That's when you see a headline, when it comes to a social media post. It's the thing that grabs your attention, that first sentence, those first couple sentences that make you want to stop scrolling and listen. And then next comes the important details. I know who, what, when, where, why is on the top of this graph, but some of that can go into the important details. That just rounds out the story. It's the important information that people will want to know because they stopped and looked at the most newsworthy information. And then down at the bottom, other general information. There's insane statistics about how people really don't look at the bottom of news stories. They stop sometimes at the headlines, but usually about halfway through. So they don't even get to the bottom of it. So that's why you put the information that's not so important towards the bottom. All right, now a reminder as we figure out, what kind of story we want. If we want to use Witch Hat, we want to use inverted pyramid. These are simplified graphs. You can be creative. There are very few rules for writing in 2022, especially on the internet. So enjoy it. You don't have to be like, oh my goodness, J.K. Rowling did it this way, so I have to do it this way. No, just have fun, be yourself. Okay, so I do want to go over a few things about, your audience. So they can be as small as large as you want it to. When you're figuring out your audience, you need to ask yourself, who is my audience? And it helps to write down your answers. For me specifically, I had a blog post I was doing for improving, and I was looking for the audience. It was about a boot camp. So I was like, do I want it to be for future students that are going to be in these boot camps, or do I want the audience to be future companies who could partner with us to put on these boot camps? I decided it was best to have my initial audience as the students, the future students, but the secondary audience is not exactly who you are writing to, but make sure you keep them in mind while you're writing. I decided that was going to be the companies that could partner with us so they could get just as much out of this blog post and know what they're getting into before they partner with us. And knowing your audience can find your tone. So different topics equals different tones. These are just a few I got from Grammarly.com. There are several others. Even the ones that I use for improving, some of them are not on here. For improving, anytime I'm writing something, I think of 3 different words. I think of informal, I think of friendly, and I think of informative, and that's not on here. If I look at something I wrote down and none of those words make sense with the tone, then I obviously didn't write it correctly for improving, and I need to start all over again or figure out a way to make it a little different. A rule of thumb for writing on the internet: write like you're talking to your mom or an 8th grader, depending on your audience. We're not in school anymore, guys. This is not a boring old English lesson. We are not going to be graded on using the word have over got. We are going to have fun with it, and we are going to write like we talk. So keep grammar in mind, but how you say it is write it, and don't be afraid to read your words out loud. For me personally, anytime I have to write a lot for improving, I like to work from home because I like to talk out loud. And if I'm around all my coworkers, they could probably think I'm a little crazy. But once you read it out loud, you can see, oh, I am stumbling on this part. So maybe it's not written that easily. Maybe I need to summarize this a little simpler. That's something you can do, and you can figure out as you say it out loud. In point of view, this is something really important to remember. just want to remind people. You can use first person, second person, or third person. It doesn't really matter, but you need to choose one and try as best you can to stick with one. This helps your reader not get too lost. It just makes everything look super organized and super simple. And then right before we get into the blog posts, I do want to talk to you about the best tool ever, Grammarly.com. Yes, I am the content writer. I should not have to use Grammarly, and for the most part, you know, my job is to be Grammarly, but I always like to run my things through, especially blog posts, through Grammarly.com just in case, because it finds things that sometimes our brains can go over. So for example, this is actual copy that we had, and you can see there were a few issues. Well, there's one issue. So my brain looked over that was written out twice. So this caught it, I was able to fix it. But remember, Grammarly is just a tool, it's not perfect. The word talent, they thought that was wrong, it wasn't, so keep that in mind, especially when you're writing like you're talking. Grammarly wants to make everything super formal, and you just have to say, no, I know what I'm talking about. Okay, blogs, here we go. We're going to talk about some types of blogs that you can write about. This is the same, like I said before, you can be creative. You don't have to stick to just one, but these will help you come up with the type of blog you want to write about. Number one, listicle. It's literally when you write a list, when you look up 10 ways to fix up your home and make it look more formal. You know, when you have a list of 10, there you go, that is a listicle. Google loves listicles, so if you ever have the opportunity to write one, I would go for it. We love listicles at Improving. Roundup. Blogs where grab information from various sources. This can be information you got from Google, experts, or a group of people. I see I wrote that wrong, so apologies, I'm the content writer. There shouldn't be any. I'm like cringing. Oh no, there's a mistake in here. So Roundup is basically when you get a bunch of information, put it together. We had a fun one during Christmas where we had a bunch of different people put what they're thankful for, or it was Thanksgiving, for what they're thankful for together. And I just took what all these improvers were thankful for, put them into one blog post, and it turned out really sweet. And then opinion, usually this is a topic that's either newsworthy and timely or something that you're passionate about. You spend time laying out opinions for readers. I don't have to tell you what this is, guys. There are so many opinionated blogs. It's insane. I don't even want to tell you an example. You know what they are. I can sometimes get a little annoyed by them. And then curation. This is when you take someone else's content and then you share it and write about it. We don't see this one as much as the other three. This one is, I know an example that I saw the other day was there was a YouTube video, and somebody took that YouTube video, they placed it on the top of their blog post, and then they wrote underneath it, kind of summarizing the blog post, but then also going and continuing on about that topic, and that's a curation blog. How to, when you Google how to cook a turkey, you're reading how-to blog 99% of the time. I read a lot of these cooking how-to blogs. Yeah, they are pretty simple as well. And then review, whenever you review any good or service. So I had to get a laptop a couple weeks ago. The review blog posts were amazing. They told me all about the different laptops and what I should be looking for. So those were really helpful, especially you IT guys. You should be doing review blogs. They help people like me who don't know as much about technology. And then personal story. I love this one. When you write about something that has happened to you personally. One that just happened, Shervin Joseph here at Improving, he wrote a story. He was actually going to write just a regular LinkedIn post, and then he kept on thinking about it, and he ended up writing a blog for us, and it's one of the best on our website at the moment, doing the best. And this is when he found out he had a mentorship opportunity with a guy throughout the pandemic. So it was 2020, spring of 2020. Somebody reached out to him on LinkedIn, and he made a new friend, made a new mentorship relationship throughout some of the most lonely parts of our lives in 2020. So it was really cool to hear him talk about that. Spotlight, something else we do here, writing about someone or something to highlight them. And then thought leadership. This is what we do the most at Improving. Every Wednesday, we combine a chance to learn along with the opinions and experiences of the writers to create these blogs. So this is, you know, as IT people, you guys do this a lot as well. You talk about something really particular that people need to learn about, and you bring your experiences into the story and you write about it. Okay, SEO. So we have an SEO expert here at Improving. So I wouldn't call me a full expert, but obviously as the person doing blogs and social media, I use SEO a lot and I think a lot about it. So first off, the definition of SEO, search engine optimization. It is a process of optimizing your website with the goal of improving your rankings in the search results and getting more organic, non-paid traffic. And this is from mangoals.com. They have some great SEO information that we'll look at. So this is one of them. So the paid results are the top 3 results you get on Google. If you didn't know that, you look and it says ad nowadays, I believe. And it'll have all of the ones that people have paid for to be moved to the top when you put a certain keyword into your search bar. What we try to do as content writers, as SEO people, we try to get organic results. This is when you don't pay for it at all. You just have the right information in your post to be one of the top 3 or on the first page of Google. And really, the first one is where you want to be, obviously, because that is what most people click. And the second 2, the percentages go down a lot on who clicks what. And from there, it's almost non-existent. So you want to try to get as high on this list as possible. So how do you do that? The SEO Soup, thank you, Mangoals, for this. The top 3 ingredients to rank your website. So first is quality backlinks, and that is your seasoning. The great content, that is your soup. And then the technical stuff is your bowl. So let's go over the technical stuff. We'll go from down up. So the bowl represents all of the technical aspects you need to cover. This is often referred to as technical or on-page SEO. Without a proper bowl, there'd be nothing to hold your soup. So this is all the technical stuff you need, the stuff that I would talk to you about when you're going through with your blog post. And then great content. This is the writer having great content. The soup represents the content of your website. The most important part, low quality content equals no rankings. It's that simple. If I'm clicking on something and it doesn't have the information I need in there, that means there's no great content and I wasted my time. So you're going to want to have all of the good stuff in there. It's the reason why you're writing, right? And then quality backlinks. The seasoning represents the backlinks that increase the authority of your website. You can have great content and a perfectly optimized website, but ultimately you need to gain authority by getting quality backlinks. It's the last ingredient to make your SEO perfect. So things to think about when it comes to that. So that's keywords, links, and metadata. This is improving. This is what I see before I put a blog post up. This is our Power Up with Power Apps blog post that Rob did, and it was really great. So you need to make sure you have the word Power Apps, that's what it's about, in your title, and then your meta description, if you look in the middle there, that is really important. If you take a look, I have keywords in there: Power Apps, Microsoft Suite, platform, custom applications, business transformation, all of that kind of stuff is really important to have in your description. So when you're Googling Power Apps business transformation, this is what pops up because we have both of those phrases in our meta description. Okay, so now I want to go over different kinds of blogs. I know right before we talked about SEO, we talked about tone, we talked about audience, and we talked about that thesis statement, right? I want to go through a couple different blogs and how I made them sound really different. I wanted to go through other people's blogs. I didn't want to talk about myself so much, but turns out I can't tell people somebody's tone unless I actually wrote it. So we're going to look over some that I have done. We're going to start out with Improving Cloud Computing blog. This is actually a blog I wrote for my interview portion to get this position. I had a lot of fun learning about it. I'm still learning about technology. I have a marketing journalism background, so learning about tech stuff has been really fun. This is the first post I got to do it on when it comes to improving. So here's how I did this. I was told I needed to write about 10 benefits of cloud computing. And from there, they just gave me the reins. So I went through and I thought, who is my audience? I went to Improving's website, looked at their other blog posts to see what their audience usually is like, and I realized it was mostly normal people who want to learn about different tech things. And so my audience is normal people who want to learn about the cloud. My tone, I decided it was going to be informative and informal. And like I said before, I still bring these two words into my tone with Improving. The one thing I do change is I try to make it friendly because I know the tone better of Improving now that I've been here, right, for several months. And then a thesis statement. There are 10 benefits to using cloud computing within your company. I had those down. So this is what I created, this little snippet. And I'm going to read it out loud, and you're going to see in red is the phrases I use to make the tone informal, and green is phrases I use to make the tone informative. The cloud is a term tossed around in business and technology circles all over the world. While it may seem like the elusive cloud is only needed in certain circumstances, we at Improving believe cloud computing is beneficial for a vast majority of businesses and organizations. What exactly, so that's informal, right? I could take that out and it'd be more formal. What exactly is cloud computing? It basically lets you use any IT service on demand. So instead of owning and managing your own physical servers and data centers, you can utilize the internet to access a specific company's computing infrastructure for your use. So you can see a little bit of where those words, informative and informal, where they are seen throughout the story. All right, another example. This is a Furnish. This is a blog post for a company called Furnish. So they are an interior design company based in the Carolinas. So I was given a little bit of the thesis. They wanted me to write about hard and soft furnishings. Now, looking at their audience, I looked up everything about Furnish, and I got a little information from the person who gave me this assignment. It's the upper class and upper middle class women, usually over the age of 40. And then I also remembered the Carolinas. I'm from Tennessee, parents from Mississippi, so I know Southern women. So I decided the tone was going to be sophisticated. And I'm going to read this in a sophisticated tone, and you will hear it in my voice as I read it. In this stunning 2021 install project, we knew the rich hardwood floors would be the main pop of color in the kitchen. So our talented design team added a geometric runner and brought out the wood's lovely warm tones. By incorporating neutral curtains, we drew the eye to the room's most distinctive quality and balanced the space. It's important not to overwhelm the senses by adding soft furnishings that create a classic and coastal aesthetic. I will tell you, I spent a lot of time on the thesaurus part of Google during this writing process, but that's how you get sophisticated. So obviously you can see I wrote both of these, but they are very different types of blog posts because of the tone and audience and thesis. And lastly, this one was a fun one. I do some stuff for Code Launch, which is an Improving organization. And so I wrote about Code Launch DFW 2021. I talked to Jason, who is the founder of Code Launch, and he said, I want to create a blog post that is a place where anyone can go to learn everything they need to about not only Code Launch in general, but Code Launch DFW. And he also said that he wanted the media to be able to look at it, and we would send this link to the media. So I decided, okay, is the media going to be a secondary audience, or is it going to stay in the regular first most important section of audience? And I decided, yes, we're going to make this for anyone considering attending and the media. And then the tone, I had done some social media posts for them, so I knew the tone already was informal and friendly. And then thesis, Here's everything you need to know about Code Launch DFW 2021. Ask any improver what the best time of year is, and they just might say, so that's very informal, right? They just might say, whenever Code Launch is scheduled. Since 2013, the Startup Accelerator event has taken place annually at the Dallas-Fort Worth area and will continue to do so. But this year, Atlanta got to experience all the fun for the first time. You can see got to is informal. My mom was a teacher for 20 years. She's an assistant principal now. And I think I'm a content writer because of her, because little things like got, I used to say got a lot as a teenager, and she's like, it's have. That's the correct way to say it. But hey, we are writing for the modern world now. This is informal. I'm using the word got again, and you can too. All right, now let's go to social media. So before we jump in, I want you to remember a few things. Social media is used personally as the new way we communicate with others as ourselves without a clear motive like in blogs. It highlights who you are personally and is unique to everyone. So don't try to be somebody else, be yourself. And find your voice by writing the way you speak, no matter what. That's a theme that keeps on coming. Guys, if you don't take anything out of this talk, just remember to find your voice by writing the way you speak. That is the most important thing to get out of this today. Social media channels we'll be looking at real quick is LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. There's TikTok nowadays, which I'm a huge fan of, and there's also YouTube, but those are more video-based, so we're not going to talk about them. We're going to talk about the stuff that we're going to write about. So LinkedIn, when you're writing for LinkedIn, your tone should be professional and formal. Nowadays, there's a little more informal posts, but for the most part, it's formal. And then the size of the posts are long form and the content is work related. Even if you see something personal, like a photo that's personal, a lot of times people will wrap that around work related content in order to make it presentable for LinkedIn. The best times to post, at least at the moment, this could always change depending on algorithms, but right now Hootsuite says the best times are Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to noon, and then Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. The best days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and the worst day to post on LinkedIn, Sunday. For LinkedIn, you are going to talk about and tag people. This is really, really important. It's something I've learned as I have continued to post for improving in order to increase engagement. When we talk about and tag people, it really works. You're going to tell a story and start with a sentence that grabs people's attention. Think of that inverted pyramid, right? We're going to start with a headline that is going to be really eye-catching and it's going to bring people into your post. And then brag on yourself. I know that's hard to hear, right? We don't want to brag on ourselves anymore. You know those people that brag all the time on social media and you're like, I don't want that to be me. But LinkedIn is a place for that. Brag on your accomplishments. People want to know about them. And then use hashtags. You can either use them in the body or at the bottom, which is what I tend to do. Shervin's popping up in this again. He's a great writer. What can I say? Okay, so this is a really good example about a good social media post. He got a new scrum.org professional agile leadership certification. And so what did he do? He tagged people. He tagged Michael and Blake, he tagged scrum.org, and then he bragged about his accomplishment. But not only that, he did give a thank you to the people who helped him and bragged on them as well. He also put those awesome hashtags at the end. These are things that people can follow. So I know for us, like I would follow Scrum, I follow agility, agile leadership, and people can see your posts just on the hashtags that you use on LinkedIn. And it worked really well for him. Got some good interactions there. Facebook, so the tone is informal and friendly. The size of the posts can be long or short form. Think of Facebook, they have everything under the sun on there. So you can do whatever. Content, you can do whatever, anything. But be consistent in posting and inconsistent in the type of posts. So they like it when you shake things up. Do a video one day, photo one day, link for a blog post one day. They like all of the things. The best times to post for Facebook, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. The best days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday, and the worst day is Saturday this time, not Sunday. Interesting. This is a good example. I just took this from my professional page. I was on it a lot more when I was a reporter, but I still post every once in a while. I know people on Facebook like to see updates. So when we got Walter's now bigger than Georgia, who is the big dog on that right bottom photo. But when we got him, we took some pictures and I posted it for everybody to see. I just, bragged about him being cute. And then we have Twitter. So the tone for Twitter is informal and to the point. And the reason it's to the point is because the size of the posts are short form. You guys know this. Content, anything but specified to your brand. For Twitter, some good things to remember. Use hashtags, but not too many. If you're on Twitter and you've seen those posts where they use so many hashtags, it looks like you're spamming people, and people will know that you're using the hashtags to try to get attention. So make sure to choose what you hashtag wisely. Use visuals like photos, GIFs or GIFs, however you want to say it, graphics, etc. Try a thread too. This is when you reply to your own tweet to continue the conversation. The best times to use Twitter, Wednesday from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then Tuesday and Thursday from 9 to 11 a.m. The best day to tweet is on Wednesday and the worst day is Saturday. This is from my time as a news reporter. July 4th, 2020, there was a protest. All of the demonstrations were happening around the country about police brutality. And this, everybody that was at the demonstration stopped to put a vigil out for people who had died from police brutality. And this was in front of the Legislative Plaza. You can see, especially as a journalist, but in general, I like to be pretty objective. So I didn't put any opinions out there. I just said what was happening and let the picture speak for itself. And then I put a couple hashtags that really helped people find this. I know for me, I'm a huge Marvel person. When Spider-Man came out, the first thing I did when I got home was go on Twitter and look up Spider-Man No Way Home. And, that very specific hashtag was the one people were using. So make sure you do some research on the hashtags right before you post. And then Instagram, the tone is informal and optimistic. The size of the post, long or short form, and the content is pretty personal. Something about LinkedIn, they do not use links. I don't understand why they still don't have links in their stuff. Anyways, if you need to use a link, you have this blog post that you're talking about that you want to promote, you can use Linktree. This is free for the standard version of it. We use it for code launch, we use it for improving, and you can put all of your links in this. So it'll be one link that you can click in your bio. If you're on Instagram, you've probably seen when people say, click the link in my bio to find this cute sweatshirt I'm wearing, right? So you'd click the link and that would pop up. The best time to post on Instagram, Tuesday from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m., Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. And the best day is on Tuesday and the worst day is Sunday. Here's our Christmas photo. Obviously, this is personal, right? Even when I was a reporter and I was talking about the stories I was doing, I hardly ever posted anything about my stories on Instagram. I would sometimes on my stories, but for the most part, I wanted people to be able to come to my Instagram page and learn about me as a human being that they were seeing on TV. And that goes for everything. You just want people to know who you are through Instagram and have smiling faces, right? Cute little dogs in the sand. I miss Mally, I'm not gonna lie. Look at that, it's gorgeous. All right, so planning. If you wanna plan your social media stuff, you can do that. You can do a weekly or monthly schedule to ensure that you post consistently. Each channel has different times when you post to pick up the most traction, but they will depend on your audience and content. So just thinking about it, right? So you saw all of those things that Hootsuite said were the best times to post. A lot of those talked about like a mid-morning area from 11 a.m., that type of thing. But for us at Improving, we have a lot of people who love their coworkers. So 4 o'clock works really well for us. A lot of times when people get off work from Improving, they go onto LinkedIn to see what their coworkers and what their network is doing because they want to stay up to date with them. That doesn't always happen with every social media channel. So you just want to do some research and play around with it. Like I said right here, play around with posting times to see what works for you. Treat it like a game. It's fun. And then you can also use analytics. Most channels have them on their own. I know LinkedIn and Twitter do. I think Instagram, you have to have a like professional page, not a personal page, in order to see your analytics, but they'll help you understand which posts are working and which are not. And this is what one of mine looks like. If I post on Instagram and Facebook, you don't see it on this, but that would be yellow and green. So I have them all color coded by where I'm posting. And then I go over the subject, whether it's blogs, training, public classes, and then the title of what we are doing, and then the actual messages we're showing. So, little sneak peek into what we do. All right, so analytics. I want to tell you a little bit about the vocab because it can be a little confusing. So we'll just go over those really quickly. So analytic vocab, impressions. Those are how many people took time to look at your post. There's a certain amount of seconds that people will stop to read your post, and that's how you get an impression. So they don't have to react to it at all, and you're still going to get an impression. Unique visitors. This is how many people actually looked at your profile without any duplicates or looked at your post without any duplicates. Me, I'm the social media manager, right? So I go in and I look at a certain social media post a lot. It could be 10 times in a day. I don't want it to tell me that we had 100 people looking at it when really 90 people looked at it. So that's where unique visitors comes into play. It'll tell me, hey, no, you looked at it 10 times, so the unique visitor count is 90. Reactions, likes, shares, hearts, comments, you guys know the drill. Clicks, the amount of people who click on a link in your post or profile. This is super important for us at Improving because we want to make sure if we're putting out a blog that somebody is clicking on a link to look at that blog. It can also be photos that you put out, if they clicked on the photos, that type of thing. And then mentions, when you were tagged and referred to in other posts. Obviously, this is really important because this helps get your network to go out further, right? If one of my friends posts about Improving, well, all of their company will know about Improving and be able to follow us or at least know our name through that mention. And then social media principles for success. I wanted to go over these because I think they're pretty important and they help you go through what you need to post on social media when you do it. So it's participatory, when you interact within the community, answer questions, and thank those who respond. And that's just really, interacting with other people, right? And we do that a lot. I'll do a heart instead of a like for something, just to let people know, oh my gosh, we love this, right? And if somebody posts, hey, I started at Improving, or I went to the Improving office for the first time, if I have the time, I'll go in, thanks for joining us, right? Authentic. People do business with others they know, like, and trust. Obviously, this is really important for Improving. We really value trust. It's something that really pulled me to the company, and we want to be authentic, right? We want to be trustworthy to our audience. If we mess up like that, we mess up our, we could potentially mess up our somebody else's opinion of us, and that's me as a human being on my personal LinkedIn account, right? If I say something that may not be truthful, somebody can be like, oh, wow, my opinion of her may be a little tainted. And that's really important not to do because things on the internet stay on the internet. Even if you delete them, sometimes they can be seen again. So you want to make sure you stay trustworthy. Resourceful, present useful and relevant content to help information, or helpful information, excuse me. So you guys know, you go on social media because you want, especially LinkedIn, right? You want useful and relevant content. That's resourceful content. And then credible, building a reputation for knowledge and expertise in the field, building a brand's trustworthiness, the same as authenticity. Keeping that credibility is super duper important. Okay, so it is 12:53. We actually are a little early. I had some posts just in case, but I don't think we have to do them. Jim, do you want to try to do let me stop sharing my screen. Do you want to do a little bit of Q&A?
Sure. I would like to remind the live attendees that we're about 30 seconds behind. Basically, so any the video feed that the attendees are receive, they'll get in about 30 seconds. So attendees, if you could start typing in your questions now, I will relay them to Shelby as they come in. And I have a quick one my own. What are the best ways to overcome writer's block?
Oh, there we go. There's my mic. Absolutely. That's a great question. I think for me, it is going over those 5 ways to tell a story. And then that barf it out section, right? So if you think about those two, there are 2 ways you can have writer's block. You can have writer's block in not knowing what to write about. And that's when you start looking at, okay, what's timely, what's proximate, let's go look at the news that's going on or other blog posts that are happening right now and figuring out what's relevant to other people. You can even talk to people, right? Ask, hey, what's something that you think I know well that I should write about? And then from there, that's the barf it out section, right? I think how people get writer's block the most, and the thing that has helped me not get it, knock on wood, so far, is doing that barf it out. I may write something that I think is absolutely terrible, but it's something. And so from there, you can create it into something you like a little better by going over it and editing it. But just putting it out on the table and seeing all this barf out there may not be good, but it's something that can help you move forward in writer's block.
All right, we do not have any further questions. One other question that did come to mind for me, though, you mentioned posting at specific times. Does that correlate to a specific time zone or whatever time zone you're in?
Yes, absolutely. Those correlate to whatever time zone you are in specifically. When I was freelancing in Maui was, depending, they don't have daylight savings, so we were 4 or 5 hours behind everybody here at Central Time. So I would talk with the people that I posted on social media for, and we would try to do different times that would work with Hawaiian time, and then also work with Central Time, Eastern Time, all that stuff. It really depends on when people are getting online. So you can see a lot of those 11 o'clock times. That's because in the corporate world, we're all on lunch breaks and we're getting on social media for the first time of the day. And the first thing that pops up is something that was just posted. So that helps. We do a lot of 11 o'clock posts at Improving. And then the 4 p.m. posts for Improving that work really well is because people are getting off in an hour or getting off a little early or have maybe 15 minutes to kill before leaving the office. And so they'll get on LinkedIn, and that's when we get a lot of good interactions as well.
Fantastic. There are no questions in the queue. Again, we can sit tight for just a little bit longer, see if anybody does have questions. Again, attendees, please do feel free to ask questions. We have a couple more minutes left in the session.
For sure. And if anybody doesn't have any questions that they want to put out here in the public, but have more specific questions, you can make sure and email me, shelby.sansone@improving.com, or just reach out to me. I'm on all social media channels for the most part, and we can have a conversation. I can help you with that. I do a lot of things with improvers where they write for social media or their personal blogs, and they ask questions when I have time. I love helping people with that and just going over all of their work to make it the best post as possible. So we can go over tone, that kind of thing. It's been a lot of fun.
Fantastic. No questions have been asked, Shelby. Thank you so much, and thank you attendees for joining us today. If you want to view this presentation, it will be posted on YouTube on the Improving Enterprises channel. You should be able to search it by typing Improving or Improving Enterprises. And also, quick note, Improving is hiring software developers, many software developers. Feel free to reach out to us or find an Improving recruiter. You can find the job postings on LinkedIn, and it's consistently ranked a best place to work in every market that it operates in. Thank you so very much, and we will see you next time. Have a great day and a great weekend.
Bye, guys. Thank you.